improve the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have some more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation.
We want to improve the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Global Morning Weekend. It's a beautiful morning here in the city of Abuja. A beautiful Saturday morning. The weather is a bit cozy and it's the holidays, of course. We're still in the season of Ramadan. So Ramadan Kareem to all our viewers all over the world. There's been a series of events following the holidays. People are either resting, taking up time to rest, to be with loved ones, to be with family, to share love, to give love. And overall, people are grateful. We see a lot of people talk about how grateful they are for life, how grateful they are for this spiritual journey and this period. And I am particularly grateful. I am here to bring you the Global Morning News, even as you are grateful for life and the new season. I am Queen Agapa, and welcome to Global Morning. Let me start by asking you this question. What are you grateful for? Pause, think, ponder. There's a quote that says, you don't need so much to be grateful. You don't need money or any of those things, material things to be grateful. All you need is a functioning memory. So think and ponder. What are you grateful for? It could be the seemingly little things. Talk about the ability to think. Talk about good health. They say good health, they say, is underrated. Good health. The health you have and you take for granted is what people pay in thousands, hundreds of thousands to be able to live fine, to be able to breathe. Are you grateful for breath? Are you grateful for the ability to walk? Remember that a lot of people who may not necessarily be disabled from birth. They just find themselves in unpleasant circumstances that life has thrown them off. But regardless, they're grateful for life. So what are you grateful for? You don't need so much to be grateful. You just need a functioning memory. But if you ask me, I would say, I know you're itching to know what I am grateful for. Well, I'm grateful first for life. I'm grateful for family. Yes, for family. I'm grateful for friends. I'm grateful for colleagues. I'm grateful for my bosses. I'm grateful for work culture, work family. I'm grateful for the ability to, sit down here and, present to you, talk to you about what you are grateful for. Well, that's about that for now. But I'm sure that you can remember all of the times that, a lot of things that you thought a lot of challenges you thought you would not be able to overcome passed, and you remember all you have now is memories of those times and those periods, but you discover that somehow, some way, you sailed through. That is something to be grateful for. We've all had that difficult journey, difficult path where we thought that we would not be able to. I've been there time and time again where I think and I ponder and I wonder, how do I get through this challenge or this phase? But all I have now are memories of, scaling through that challenge. So just be grateful. They say gratitude invites more. It's an invitation for more. So what are you grateful for? Those seemingly little things, those seemingly minute things that you think does not require maybe recognition, that you think you consider very minute, you don't really care about it. These are basics. But believe me, people pay in hundreds of thousands for this basic. What I'm talking about is health. What I'm talking about is health is wealth. A whole lot. Just living, to live, to see, sight. Yes. If you don't have good sight, you probably will not be able to watch me this morning. So yes, you should be grateful for sight. I am grateful for my eyes. I'm grateful for my mouth, because without my mouth, I would not be speaking to you this morning. And I'm grateful for my nose, that I can breathe, just life in general. So I need you to think, do that assignment for me. Think, ponder. What are those incidences and what are you grateful for? Welcome to Global Morning once again. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be looking at what the papers has for us this morning. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are going to be looking at the front page of our national dailies for you. And it's the weekend, and there are tweaks to the stories this time around. They're not the regular, very political or business-oriented stories. Of course, we have those stories here, but we have some human angle stories. We have some entertainment stories. It's just a variety this time around. We pry into the lives of celebrities. Here, we have news from our celebrities and all of that, because it's the weekend. So we begin first with the Guardian newspaper. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, yes, big story. It says, Eid el-Kabir, President Tinubu urges prayers for troops, tasks Nigerians on unity and sacrifice. Yes, that's what this period is about, the season is about. It's a season where we think, where we reflect, where we think about the doings of Allah, which is not excluding sacrifice, love, peace, and unity. And so President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has urged troops, prayers for troops, and also asked Nigerians to unite, to make sacrifices, and to live in peace. That's the message for this season. We also have, above the nameplates, we have aftermath of Mokwa tragedy, police shift climate risk assessment as strategies to tame flooding. Police shifts climate risk assessment as strategies to tame flooding. And also, we have Khan felicitates Muslims, seeks prayers for Mokwa flood victims as well. And then we have P urges national reflection, calls on APC to end waste and deceit. Uwais was a phenomenal jurist, statesman Tinubu mourns. Underneath, we also have right there, why civil service must be transformed into effective machinery of running government. And we also have voter education, civic competence, and participatory democracy in Nigeria. Above the nameplate, we have Spotlight, which is page 14. It says, towards a resilient future, OAU's council management align strategies for institutional advancement. Then let's just look at the aftermath of the Mokwa flood. Families have been displaced, lives has been lost in numbers, which is quite a sad occurrence right here. And then we see that the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, is felicitating with Muslims and seeking prayers for the victims of Mokwa floods. We will find these stories about the Mokwa flood incidences on page 8 and 9 of the Guardian Weekend, and also on page 2 of the Guardian Weekend. But I just want to talk a bit about flooding. When we have issues and incidences of flooding like this, we've had this over time. We've had flooding in Benue, we've had it in Borno, I think last year. And these times, they're recurring time and time again. It's either as a result of a dam or opening of a dam, or natural disasters like maybe heavy rain, and then we have flooding like that, and natural occurrences that cause this flooding. But what actually differentiates us, makes things different, safe to say, is our preparedness. How prepared are we for occurrences like this? Because they are bound to happen, particularly because of the culture that we practice, where we see that we don't practice safe waste disposals in certain parts of the country that are prone to flooding. I saw a video that circulated on social media where, as the rains were coming and the already flooded area was, water was still passing through, people were emptying their waste on their debris on that flood, on that water. And so when the water washes away this dirt and all of that, we ask ourselves, where do these dirts go to? Of course, they go somewhere, block certain pipes, block certain passageways, and then we have increased cases of flooding. So we need to educate ourselves. If you ask me, in this aspect of flooding, more work needs to be done in terms of education. We should educate people on the dangers of flooding, particularly people who are in areas that are sometimes inaccessible. They have bad roads and all of that. People in those areas need proper education. And also we need to also hold defaulters accountable. Punishments should be meted out. And when we find those people, particularly those people who we've seen in videos, they need to be apprehended by security personnel and questioned, and also given punishment so that people can learn, people within that vicinity can learn. So if after proper education and enlightenment, people still go ahead to dispose of their waste inappropriately, then they should be apprehended by the law, and then punishment should be meted out to them. And they should be used as examples to ensure that people do not emulate such practices. And also we need to have proper waste disposal system. NEMA, agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of waste management should step up to their responsibilities. We want to see more waste disposal initiatives, education about waste disposal and flooding. We also want to see proper waste disposal points, waste basket, waste bins, vehicles and all of that, so that people can be able to dispose of their waste properly. Well, we'll move over to the Tribune, Saturday Tribune. It's the weekend, so we have Saturday Tribune, and we look at the stories there on the front page of our Saturday Tribune. Well, not too many stories, but above the nameplate, we have President Tinubu and others mourn as Justice Uwais dies at 88. He has been applauded for his time here on earth, his service, his diligence to service, and humanity and Nigeria as a whole. We have single term of 6 years, enough for political office holders to make impact, says Makinde. It says single term of 6 years, enough for political office holders to make impact. Yes, he's saying that you don't have to run 8 years in office and still looking for another 8 years in office for you to make impact. We can already see, if by some people have even gone ahead to say, if by the first few years, the first 3 years in office, first 2 years in office, we don't see tangible results, it means that we can't even tell, where the economy is going or where Nigeria is going. It means that there's something wrong. And for office holders as well, if at the end of 6 years, we can't tell, there's no trajectory, it means that there's something wrong. So he says, we'll find that story on page 5 of the Saturday Tribune, where he says, single term of 6 years enough for political office holders to make impact. Moving on the Saturday Tribune, I'm left with just 3 chickens. The flood took away everything, including my children. This is quite disheartening. Says, flood took away everything, including my children, and I'm left with just 3 chickens. So these are the things that happen, the ripple effect of flooding. And when we are not prepared, unpreparedness for things like this, when we don't have a responsive emergency service, and we've not made measures, capital measures to see to it that when there are issues of flooding, people are quickly evacuated. Talk about machineries, talk about the manpower, talk about the tools, talk about timing, talk about response teams, trainings, and all of that. And it's just a sad thing, because sometimes these incidences are unpredictable. And now we have people who have lost their lives, families that have been wiped out, an entire generation wiped out as a result of the flood, people who have lost their children, and parents who have lost loved ones, lost their children, and children who have lost their parents as well. And it's sad for this family here who have lost all of their children and all of their chickens, people who do poultry. Of course, businesses have been affected. We're not going to downplay that, because lives were lost as well. As much as businesses were affected, lives were lost. And for some people, when issues like this happen, one of the flooding, I saw a man who had his tricycle and was pushing it amid the flood. Even it looked heavy and it looked like it was going to be swept off by the flood. But some people have decided in their minds and say, you know what, if anything happens to my source of livelihood, the question is, why am I living? Because for them, they have no other source of livelihood, and they're thinking, perhaps that young man right there who was pushing his tricycle, regardless of the heavy, flood that was coming at him, and was pushing his tricycle, trying to find safety, one would assume, people would say, why not leave this tricycle and, run to get safety, run for your life. But, for some people, the questions around, what if, he has spent his entire life saving trying to get that tricycle? What if he borrowed money to get that tricycle and he has not yet paid back, And for them, why we think that that is foolishness. But for some people, they would rather die with a tricycle than, have nothing to fall back on. And then here we have people who have lost their businesses and lost children as well. So when we think about these things, I think that with all of these sad occurrences and incidences, it's enough reason for us to take proactive measures, to begin to think, government, agencies and individuals as a whole, do we want a reoccurrence of these sad incidences where people lose businesses in the twinkle of an eye, they lose lives in the twinkle of an eye, they lose families and loved ones, and an entire community is wiped out? So let us think, not just the Mokwa community, but for people in other regions that are prone to flooding, and even those that may not even be prone to flooding. Let us take active measures to ensure that if there's going to be any of these incidences again, people are properly evacuated, or people are told before and measures are taken to give these people safe spaces outside of their usual community or places of residence. And let us be strategic. Look at what happened in Borno last year. Do we want a reoccurrence? What happened in Makurdi? What are the steps we're taking? What are the measures we're taking so that we do not have a reoccurrence again? It's quite sad, and I really, really do not like to read stories like this on the news. But how we'll differentiate wisdom from foolishness is by taking proactive measures when there are incidences like this. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Saturday Tribune for you. And let's look at the Nation, the Saturday Nation. It's the weekend. And what are the stories on the Saturday Nation? Above the nameplate, why I joined APC by Akwa Ibom Governor Eno. 31 local government chairmen and lawmakers also dump PDP. 3 commissioners quit in protest. You find that story in page 4. President Tinubu, Supreme Court orders and others mourn an ex-CJN, Uwais, who died at 89. Inside story of alleged Enugu ritual killers, pits of horror. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Nation, the Saturday Nation. But I just want to talk about, the story of the Enugu ritual killer, alleged ritual killer in Enugu State, who happens to be a well-known billionaire, a respected billionaire in Enugu State, who is known for, his very bold lifestyle, lifestyle, attending events, giving out money, doling out this cashes and all of that. So what actually happened was that there have been cases in Enugu where people have been missing for quite some time now, parents, children. The latest of it that got people very aggrieved and angry in Enugu, in a community in Enugu, was the fact that a pregnant woman was buried alive in that horror pit, still carrying her child. And there are stories of a young child also who was hawking and went missing. So these incidences, prompted people to go all out looking for people who have been missing. So allegedly, that area, that part of this Enugu, this billionaire's compound, I think it's in his compound or in his backyard, somewhere in his backyard, was beginning to have a foul smell. And, people went up there, dug up while they were searching for, and they discovered many other people, a pregnant woman that has been buried in that pit, buried alive, many other dead bodies in that pit, and then a young child who was hawking. I think that child was not yet dead, I think, yet. And then people, the villagers, the communities got really angry because, these incidences of missing persons have been happening for quite some time now. And to find out that it's, this billionaire was actually allegedly using them for ritual purposes. So they set his building ablaze, got angry, demolished his properties, began to destroy things. Currently, he has been apprehended by the police and investigations are still going on. And while investigations have been going on by the police, there have been stories, videos have come out of this billionaire who would be seen in parties, spending money lavishly, attending, high-end events and functions, and, just doling out money in the air. So while this story is out, there are a lot of conversations around, first of all, how people need to be careful, and people need to be careful. People who send children, child labor, they particularly need to be careful, because sometimes a lot of children go missing, who underage children who enter into the streets in search of greener pastures or trying to help. Thinking about this young child who most likely would have been a victim, because there were other young children too that were buried in that pit. And it's sparking a conversation around how parents and guardians need to be very protective of their children and need to ensure that if at all the child is supposed to support, it's after this child comes back from school, and you must have a shop where this child can sit and not necessarily have to hawk this. Well, and there have also been conversations around people who dole out cash in parties, spend lavishly without traceable sources of income, and they need to be questioned, and how people need to be careful of their associations as well. But the big question is, how careful can you be? How careful can one be, particularly now where we even see that the people who are supposed to be guarding us are even bigger threats by whether we're talking about bandits, whether we're talking about robbers, whether we're talking about headsmen and all of that. Our policemen, our military men are also being attacked. But how careful can we be? But in our own little way, we can be watchdogs in our communities. Look out for any suspicious movement. I think that's how we quite agree that there are very bizarre incidences happening these days, but regardless, we can help our neighbor. We can be our brother's keeper. We can look around and be observed. So we can, we say mind your business, mind the business that pays you, drink water and mind your business, but to the detriment of your neighbor or to the detriment of lives and the properties of people who may be closest to you. Just beside you, there might be somebody screaming for help. So let's be vigilant. Let's look at, let's know our neighbors. Know our neighbors, be vigilant, and then report suspicious movements, suspicious activities to the police. That's one way we can aid, our military personnel, our security personnel, and that's one way we can also keep a sane society. All right, we'll take a quick break now, and when pages of other weekend dailies for you, please stay with us. I better play something now.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both now.
Start here.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us here on Global Morning Weekend. We're still looking at the front page of our national weekend dailies, and this time around we're looking at the Saturday Vanguard. Big story there says, why I defected to APC. 2027 polls about Nigeria, not politicians. PDP reacts. That story we'll find on page 6 of the Saturday Vanguard. Underneath that story, we have police soldiers among 160 killed in Benue in 1 month. Makinde imposes single 6-year tenure for political offices. Makinde proposes single 6-year tenure for political offices, as opposed to having a 4-year tenure twice, 8 years in total. It says how local Malams resist reforms of Almajiri schools in northern Nigeria. We find that story on page 10. Over time, we've had conversations around reforms, particularly for schools in northern Nigeria. And right here we have a story that says how local Malams resist reform of Almajiri schools in northern Nigeria. Dangote names refinery road after Tinubu. And that's on page 4 of the Saturday Vanguard. We have a story here. The Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and the Minister of States, Dr. Maria Mahmood, on behalf of all residents of the LCT, welcomes right there where we see projects, the commissioning of key renewed hope project that was executed by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, and also in commemoration of President Tinubu's 2nd anniversary. There we see pictures of projects that has been done so far, roads, stadiums, and refineries and all of that right there. Moving on, we now move over to the Saturday Punch. What are the stories on the Saturday Punch? Big story. Hurricane Tinubu to sweep more states after Governor Eno's defection. Writer says Enugu, Plateau, Rivers, Osun may join ruling party. President watches as Akpabio and 9 APC governors welcome Eno. Niger, flood victims and families hold bittersweet Salah celebrations. That's quite disheartening. And also we have Stop Destroying Church Buildings, Deeper Life tackles Lagos. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Saturday Punch. Our last point of call would be the Punch Sports Extra. Let's look at what we have in the world of sports. What are the stories in the world of sports? So we begin with Olise's iconic 98 World Cup goal against Spain still lives in my head. This is attributed to Ajebota 22. And we have Rafinha named La Liga Player of the Season. Gabriel signs new Arsenal contract. And that's on page 4 of the Saturday Punch. We have Lyon rejects City's offer for Czechia on page 3 of the Saturday Punch. Postecoglou to earn £4 million sack compensation. £4 million sack compensation on page 4 as well. And then big stories here says Moscow test. Eagles dig deep to end draw in Russian capital. Echegini targets impressive WAFCON outing. Amusa drops hurdles for sprint in Jamaica. And we have here Galatasaray submit Osimhen proposal after Saudi rejection. What other stories do we have on the Saturday Punch Sports Extra? Saturday Punch Sports Extra. We have Nigeria podium return as WA unveils Tokyo 2025 medals. And lastly, we have Rivers Hoopers unveil squad set for Bow Showdown. Well, these are the stories we have on the Punch Sports Extra. These are sports stories and the news making waves in the world of sport. Our sports correspondent Samuel Odi would definitely bring us these highlights on Sports Daily for us as we look into the world of sports. He will be here to walk us through major stories and give us the stories behind some of these headlines later today. Still talking about celebration and the Eid al-Kabir holiday and season. It's been an interesting one, as we see here. We've seen celebrations, we've seen conversation, we've seen, felicitation from both government, private organizations, and even individuals. And we've seen how people are celebrating the season. We have been also admonished by the president to make sacrifices, and we have also been admonished to live in peace, to live in unity, to be our brother's keeper, as that is what this season reflects. This is where we draw the curtain on our newspaper review. These are the stories on the headlines here. But as we know, it's still the season of celebration, and people are talking about how the season is, what comes with the season. For people we live just right. For some traders, they hoard products, they hoard essentials because a particular season is approaching. And when that time comes or approaches, the prices of food items, particularly food items, triples or even doubles, and it increasingly makes things difficult, not just for buyers as well, end users, consumers. People complain about the increased price of these food items. Well, because we're still in that season of Eid al-Kabir and the holiday season, let's look at what people are saying, particularly in the market.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Today, Muslim faithfuls gather to celebrate Eid Mubarak, a significant celebration. At the National Prayer Ground, Vice President Kashim Shettima urged Muslim Ummah to pray for Nigerians' peace and development. The Vice President urged Nigerians to pray for armed forces and security personnel who are keeping the country safe.
I would like to call on all Nigerians to rally around the President for us to reposition our nation for greatness. What binds us together surpasses whatever that divides us.
Muslims perform ritual animal sacrifice to commemorate the celebration. Imam Lukman urged Muslim faithfuls to pray for the country's leadership and transparency in governance.
The Eid al-Adha, that we slaughter, we sacrifice ram for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we encourage all the citizens of this country to listen to the directive of the government and to do the best so that the efforts of the government will be seen in the public, not to sabotage the effort of the government.
To mark Eid Mubarak, Muslim faithfuls in Nigeria gathered in their numbers at the National Prayer Ground to mark and say prayers to Almighty Allah for making it possible for them to witness another year's Eid Mubarak. Samuel Odi, reporting for Global Television News.
It's a special day for all Muslim faithfuls across the world, often observed with 2 rak'at prayers to fulfill one of the most important pillars of Islam. In Kano, hundreds of faithfuls joined the Emir Amina Ado Bayero to pray for Nigeria's peace and unity, regardless of religion or ethnic differences. The message here today is peace and unity, as well as thanksgiving to Allah for witnessing this important day in Islam.
We thank Allah for sparing our lives to yet witness another with the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, and the people of Kano. We thank Allah for giving us good health to continue to pray for the nation, to continue to pray for the security of the nation, for the economic growth of the nation.
While praying for Allah's continued protection and guidance, one of the Emir's senior councillor, Aminu Babba, called on Muslims to continue to show love to one another and embrace peaceful coexistence.
Alhamdulillah, we thank Almighty Allah for witnessing this day. You can see the number of people that came out here today to join the Emir in praying for this Eid al-Kabir. We are very happy, and we are very happy. We thank all the people of Kano State that came out here today to pray with us. This shows how much they love the Emir Aminu Ado Bayero. The people loved him. We call on the people of Kano State to continue to live in peace with one another.
The Eid prayers in Kano are marked by sacrifice as preached by the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him. From Kano, Idris Jubrin reporting for Global Television News.
Beautiful right there. My apologies. That was reports from the mosques and the various prayer grounds here in Abuja and in Kano. We wish all our Muslim faithfuls a happy Eid al-Kabir and happy celebration. The message is one, which is peace and unity all across. We saw the Vice President Kashim Shettima, preach about unity and peace. I hope that we uphold to that message, particularly in this season. Let us learn to live in peace, live in unity, and also make sacrifices and be our brother's keeper. And that's also my message for us today, that we spread love, that we share love, and then we soak up in the joy of this season. And I also wish us replenishing, particularly to our Muslim faithfuls in this time, through the spiritual exercises. I wish them great spiritual replenishing and a beautiful celebration. Well, this is where we draw the curtains final on Global Morning Weekend. It's been an interesting ride walking you through the front pages of our newspaper, our national dailies, and looking at the celebrations so far. We'll bring you more stories in our bulletin for you, looking at the season, what's happening around the mood in this festive season, and lots more for you in our various program. I'm Queen Agaba. Don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. And you can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Thank you for watching, and see you again.